This is a video on the Saturn Ion steering system. This is the rack and pinion I just took out. My car has 320,000 miles on it, and the steering was just terrible. And I've been fighting clunks for most of the life of the car. I had replaced ball joints, control arm bushings, the infamous sway bar links and struts. All of those things do clunk and were a problem, but I could never get rid of the last one until today. It turned out to be this intermediate steering shaft here, and this side, this U joint. It's got a ton of slop in it here. Probably hard to see it, but that was really loose, and that accounted for the popping when that U joint turned around. And then, just for fun, I looked at some other stuff. This is the inner tie rod end that I'd never seen before. I took the boot off, took apart this rack and pinion, and unthreaded this guy. And there's just a little slop in this. It's not terrible, but definitely has some slop in it. And then the final piece of slop was in the rack itself. This piece goes in and out just a little bit without the shaft turning. And so this is my third rack that I put in there. Actually, the first one failed catastrophically. This input shaft popped out, and I lost all steering and crashed into the ditch. I think it might be related to the power steering, which hammers on these things, and then the components kind of wear out. But that was a terrible failure, so I wanted to change this one before it happened again. Let's see. This rack is easy to get out. It's just two 18mm bolts in here, and they're very accessible by reaching through the wheel well. And then you pop off the pinch bolt on this input shaft to the rack here, and it slides right out. It's easier to go out the driver's side because of this shaft, but very easy to change and work on. So if you're fighting Saturn Ion front clunks, this is something to look at. You can look in and move the wheel and watch this U joint and see if it's loose. So it's pretty easy to inspect before you actually tear it apart. And this isn't too bad to change, assuming that your shaft telescopes. Mine, old one here, is rusted or something, all jammed up, and so it was very hard to get out. But the new one went in very easy because I could slide it, telescope it in, put on one side, and then pull it out and put it on the other side.